button on camera remote. Let's load it.
You need a
I need a kid here.
engineer, engineering degree.
This is just a, so how, like no windows or aquariums or like just general glass like that.
It has to be food grade glass.
And yeah,
It's
that's
all-
interesting to me.
Yeah, it's all different because
That's just like, honestly, I'm not criticizing. I'm actually just really curious. I'm like, that's weird to me, but what do I know?
see, I think our glass goes to Sturgeon.
Put in the road.
Probably just taking that landfill. Up there.
Does it go to where I need to? Go to home. Go back to Zoom. Got it. Good. Oh, down here. There we are. We can start. You remember everything?
We'll see.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Call that up. Moved by Corbett, seconded by Parquet, that the Public Works Committee meeting will be opened at 7 PM. All in favor? Moved by Featherstone, second by Corbett, that the agenda for the Public Works Committee meeting for February 1st, 2023 be approved and circulated. All in favor? Carried.
You have to sign the last page.
Moved by Paquette, seconded by Featherstone, that the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting held February 1st, 2023 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. A disclosure of Kearney interest in general nature thereof. Seeing none. Any delegation or presentations? None. Correspondence and information. The 2023 Municipal Conference, Road, Bridges, Culverts, and Ditches, held in North Bay.
It's a free conference. It's just a morning. I've attended one before. I don't know if it'll be the same. It's put on by the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority. It usually gives tips on erosion control, sedimentation controls, culverts, ditching. So they kind of go over what they look for from you if they're out there with your permitting. I will be attending.
And then Ontario Good Roads Conference is coming up.
So I put in the agenda. That's what they're offering right now. I know Jason Corbett is going. Steve, you're going to the Good Roads Association? You don't remember?
I don't remember which one.
I think you did sign up.
Okay.
I think, and Donna.
Right. So there's also an app you can download on your phone and it'll tell you the agenda and you can choose what you would like to go see. And they'll give you a little ding to remind you to go to your seminar or whatever you have chosen.
Oh.
It's not like you're pre-signing in or anything. There are some sessions though that do give you education credits, but I don't think that's regarding council exactly. It looks like a pretty good lineup. Unfortunately, we always attend on Sunday evening as opposed to the Sunday morning, because there is a little seminar on the minimum maintenance standards review. However, our vice president of the OGRA is Antoine Boucher, our neighboring public works director, and he is on the committee for the maintenance standards review. We have scheduled our Nipissing Roads Association meeting for March 16th, and that will be a topic of discussion for us to bring some items forward to Antoine. Pays to have connections sometime.
Susan,
Can I say something? They sent us, if we wanted to nominate someone to sit on the committee, on their committee. I see Timmons, they have Timmons representative, and Donna said she would be interested. I printed the form. I need a seconder. We can nominate her,
Okay,
and, but I need a seconder. One of you
second it.
guys will be the seconder.
yeah, someone else has to sign off with
Sure.
Mary.
that's enough.
Okay.
Is it, sorry if I
Go
could, is it advantageous to go down on the Sunday morning? I heard you, would you like to go down Sunday morning? Because I mean, I'm sure a matter of a few hours, leaving a few hours early, if we're commuting together. no big
For
deal
sure,
from
we
my
could
end.
talk about that.
Sure.
We wouldn't be able to get into our room or anything like that, but
Well, we have a conference to go to. It doesn't
Yes,
matter if we get into
exactly.
our room or not.
okay,
Yeah.
And you have wing night.
wing night, yes.
Oh, great.
At Jack Astor's.
No,
No,
you don't do you go through Duncliffe?
some days.
Okay.
We arrived late last year. I had a function with the Lions Club,
That's right.
right, which I still do this year. However, it's on the Saturday evening.
Okay.
As my way of giving back to the community. I help out the charter night for the Lions Club.
Right.
They're my other family, the
Yeah.
Lions Club.
New business recommendations to council.
So last time we met, we discussed doing a traffic data study. And we did discuss concerns with our speed limits regarding the 80-kilometer-hour zones that are in Grandis Air Road, Pine Lake Road, Shields Point Road, etc. We also discussed the 40-kilometer-hour zone that's not in front of our school, which is non-compliant. And we also discussed having a where not posted 60 kilometers an hour. So I'm bringing it back as a specific topic for this evening's discussion. I went through and I counted what signs we would need. I do suggest, however, leaving Development Road from line 3 to Rutherglen line of 70. And from Trout Pond Road to McNutt Road of 70. If we do that, I don't think anyone will do 60, although it's not our problem if people do the speed limit.
Right. I kind of like it, leave it at 60 because there are a lot of people that walk that and there's a lot of horseback riders down that road. And I mean, if like, yeah, because they do travel that road extremely fast. So, I mean, I think it's just easier if we leave the whole town, outside of inside town here where it's 50 and 40,
Right.
the rest is 60.
You can see in the bylaw that I did attach, everything that's identified in there wouldn't change. It would just be the 40 zone and our
Mhm.
non-marked
Road.
streets. So if council feels, when it gets to the council or the committee, feels that the 70s in those areas are not necessary, I did not write the motion to reflect such. And this is where we have those discussions.
I mean, you post 70 and people are gonna drive 85, you
Right.
post 60 and people are gonna drive 75.
75.
Right.
And like I said, I'm out that stretch. There's a lot of horseback riding and people fly and have no respect for somebody riding a horse down the side of the road. Well, not everybody, but there's a lot.
At the same time, if it's not monitored. it
Yeah,
doesn't
but I
matter
mean,
what
if you-
the signs are.
I mean, if the police are out that way and
And
you get caught, then you're gonna not speed down there again.
yeah, I'm part of the police services board. I'm sure we can have a conversation about, we've just recently changed our speed limits. If we could have some increased patrols just to, so people see the presence.
I was hoping, I did put in the report that the police services board is on March 23rd, 22nd. And I would like to be able to present a draft bylaw to them so as information, so that we are including the police, the OPP in our discussions before we actually follow through with the second and third reading of any bylaw.
Yeah, comfortable with that.
They usually have input, right?
Yes.
The OPP
Right.
at the Police Services Board meeting.
So if we had a drafted bylaw so that they're also informed and we could have that discussion at that Police Services Board meeting, and then we could follow through with just a first reading of the bylaw, which just tables the bylaw for council. And then we can start with an education process. I believe it would be diligent of us if we were to do a mail out to every property owner. That way we have done our best to inform our residents, and then do a second, and then prepare ourselves for the second and third reading. And our signs must be wrecked, like all that has to go together. As soon as you say second and third reading, the very next day it's enforceable. So we have to also
Have all
get
your
things
signage.
ready on our end. So we do need some
Time.
weather on our side so we can drive posts into the ground. I indicated in my report the signage that would be needed. The current budget for public works for guardrails and signs is $5,000. It's an approximately around, with removing the 70 signs, about $2,200 to go through with this, with the signage. And if this goes through council on March 14th, because of the meeting I'm having on March 16th, I can have my things delivered without freight.
Oh, good. So can you just recap? So if we're it'll be 60 kilometers an hour unless posted otherwise
Right,
throughout the municipality.
right. I currently have 1660 signs. I believe there was a change of speed limits several years ago that I could use. I also have 9 of the new round signs in stock, so that if needed, like through Grand Desert, just as little reminders, I could put some of those 60 signs up with those little new signs, and that's already, we already own those.
And we would do new for a year. Because sometimes you see new for 5
Yeah,
years.
you
right?
can't leave it there, no.
Right.
And especially the school zone signs, now they're green. They're very high vis, and the new regulations for signage is that it must be the highest quality of reflectivity now as well. So they will be very visible. And we need the 3 signs because of the length of space you need for your designated school zone. So Bois Vert would be included in that, as well as the south end of Young and the
Right.
north end of Young.
Okay.
We have a recommendation for them.
Moved by Corbett, seconded by Paquette. Whereas the Public Works Committee recommends to council that the bylaw number 20-31 being a bylaw to decrease the rate of speed of motor vehicles be repealed, and that the bylaw prepared in draft form for the next public police service board meetings to be held for information purposes, and that the repealed bylaw will be implemented unless otherwise posted. The speed limit will be 60 kilometers an hour, as well as describing a new school zone speed limit for 40 kilometers per hour and other speed limits changed deemed necessary. And furthermore, the bylaw be presented to council for the first reading, and that the first reading of the bylaw intent notice to be sent to residents of Bonfield by mail before passing of the bylaw. All in favor? Carried.
And sorry, are you going to be sending that just in the tail end of that, are we sending the notice before the first reading of the bylaw?
After the first reading,
Right.
which just tables the bylaw,
And then staff or residents have the opportunity, if so choose, they can actually
right?
come to a council
Because it's
meeting.
not,
and
that
discuss.
just tables it for, so
Right.
if the public wishes to discuss things
Okay,
with
that's great.
the council,
There'll be an opportunity they can attend
Yes,
the council meeting.
because
That's
it's
great.
not an actual passed bylaw until you do your second. and third.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to make sure I understood the timing of getting the information out to citizens.
And perhaps if we get into our recycling item coincides with that
Right.
item, it could be a 2-for-1.
Right.
Okay.
Unfinished business. Council referrals. Capital planning road project.
I would like to get this discussion. It would be nice if we can make a decision to recommend to council this evening. There's a few factors on the table. I have to do the NORDS reporting by the end of March. If we can get this move forward into our operating budget, I would have some clarity as how to answer to that report as to how the expenditures will be used. If not, we are always welcome to amend the report. Also with our capital planning and our budget, I'm in the hot seat with CAO to get my capital budget together, and this is a final item for our capital budget. We did discuss all the underground work that was done on Development Road. Committee member Corbett was asking about how much chip seal costs. And it's $1 million less than pavement. It's 2.5 million. And that's with a geotextile double chip seal coat. We find Rutherglen Line, we did that surface treatment to it and it held out well.
What happened, like, there maybe, but East Ferris is all blew apart. Like they had to repave over because it was so bad
Where,
on Nosbonsing part, Nosbonsing Road.
oh, I'm
From the
not aware.
highway into Astorville.
Yes,
But that, like, they had all, like, the snowplows kept catching the tarp and ripping it up.
oh,
Yeah, so then there was a mess.
I had none showing.
I'm just,
So I don't know if they extended the material past the surface treat.
no, it was like even in the middle of the road, they'd catch it and it was ripping all up. Like I said, they actually had to pave. That's why they paved that road last year, the year before.
Right.
'Cause
It worked well for us on Rutherglen Line. But for a pricing,
Yeah, no,
as a price, it's 2.5 million. We did discuss the Railway Street and March Street. I would need a little bit of clarity if you would.
Before we jump in, can I
Oh,
just ask
sorry.
questions on that?
Yeah,
Can I?
Yeah.
So if we're looking at value for money, so it's $1 million cheaper, given the traffic count, I don't know if we have any information on that. Is it actually value to pave it versus chip seal? Or is the value in chip seal still there because it's $1 million cheaper?
just because I'm knee deep in the road needs study, I actually know the average daily traffic count for that road, however, was 2014 was the last time the count was done, is 260 vehicles per day. I personally have flagged out there and not seen a car. Most of our traffic leaves by 9 o'clock and it comes back at 5 o'clock.
Right.
right.
The treatment that's there right now is chip seal, and that is 20 something years old.
Perfect.
And going into the future, there's nothing from us to chip seal it again, like. as
No, of course.
You know what I mean? Put another layer over in like 5 years or 8 years
Yes.
to protect it.
And there is a maintenance program for chip seal. About 5 to 8 years, you should reseal your chip seal.
And it would be-
Rutherglen Line's like coming close.
Right. And it would be significantly cheaper than $2.5 million to reseal because obviously we've done the underground work at that
Right.
point, right?
Right.
You're looking.
Pavement has no maintenance basically, however, you
Right.
still have to do those treatments. And it's difficult politically to explain to the taxpayers why you're resealing a road that looks fine when there are other roads degrading. However, it's a maintenance measure. And I'm just the public works super. You guys get to deal with the
I mean,
politics of those
we
treatments.
reseal our roads a year after we chip seal,
Yes.
and then we'll do it. as
Rather Glen
needed.
Line's actually 3 coats.
Yeah,
Yes.
So just help me with the math here. So
Okay.
let's say the life expectancy of a chip seal is 20 years. If we base it off of whatever we currently have,
Right.
and let's say it's 20 years. How much in the life of that 20-year, how many times would we have to reseal, resurface, whatever it is? And how much in the current dollars is that? I know it's hard to project what it's gonna cost 15 years.
right now you're 65,000 per kilometer for chip seal. And then you're about 30,000 right now to reseal.
So, sorry, how much was that?
About 30,000, 35,000 to reseal.
To resale. So the 65,000 is the upfront.
Is the
cost
two,
for-
the double layer of chip seal.
Right, and now the 30,000. And how often do you have to resale?
I
5 to
mean,
8 years.
Yeah. every
So
5
4
to 8
times in its life, possibly.
Oh, at $30,000 a kilometer
12 times 12,
times 12. Sorry.
36.
Not sure what's happening here.
Oh, Ann's already doing it.
360,000
Over the life of the,
Over the 20 year.
Per.
per
per
every
20.
5 years.
per every 5 years, so 360 times 5.
1
Sorry.
million.
So it's, in today's dollars, it would be more money over the life of the road than it would be to pave it.
Right.
But
And
not
that's
by much.
that's the nature, 1.8 million.
Yeah,
That's the nature of everything except asphalt.
Yeah,
Right.
but asphalt has its issues. too.
Asphalt is the upfront cost.
right.
Chip seal, you're basically sealing a gravel road. That's the purpose of chip seal.
Yeah, and all I really want, I'm trying to figure out is, obviously, an upfront hit to the taxpayers is very, very costly.
It's just the maintenance cost is less over its lifetime.
Right,
Right.
which, but you can absorb that over time in the tax base.
Exactly.
easier. So as long as it wasn't absurdly more expensive to do chip seal over the life expectancy, then I'm comfortable, so.
And I don't think we're not gonna do that in one shot, that road. That road's gonna be a multi-phase. At that price tag, to me, we're doing that in.
Unless we
state.
can obtain a
Unless-
grant,
yes,
and there
we can
are
get a
none
grant.
currently for road work.
But, we're not gonna do
Right.
$2.5 million, $3 million in one shot.
It would be Devonshire for sure.
So I think it's gonna break it down into phases and, phase 1, we go so far where our money carries us, and then gas tax money and all the phase 2 the following year.
Okay, great.
So that was one of the recommendations from our department. I know that the council has a desire to do Railway Street. Mark Street, it's actually changed its name in the middle of the street. With it has some dig outs, 6-inch lift of gravel. I should have changed that. I updated it from the 2020 numbers to
Oh.
610,000.
I was gonna ask you.
Yes, sorry.
And then, sorry, jumping back to development, you said there's still work to be done on the far end.
There's some ditching that has to be done on the far end.
What kind of number do we have?
It's approximately $10 a meter.
Like how much ditching are we looking?
It's about a kilometer there, both sides. So 2 kilometers of 2,000 meters.
Yeah, so that's 3 days, 4 days of ditching,
Right.
and then how many, we get 6 pipes left? Deep
Yes.
ones?
Not big ones.
So we're not talking a lot of money to finish off
Off
the
development.
underground
No.
work.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're not deep.
Yeah, so we're
Yes.
not looking at a big cost to do the pipes and the ditching
No,
to finish that.
development. Yes.
Yeah, and then all we have to worry about is dig outs and then the chip
Right.
seal or
And the dig
asphalts.
outs on development are very limited. There's not a lot of frost heaving on Development Road. Then there's Railway and Mark Street.
Mhm.
I know it's been desired by several past councils as well, to have that looked at.
Now, your number that we're looking at, is that including we're ditching the road all out
Right.
before we start road construction.
Right, and here it's gonna be delicate, citizen wise, once you get past the fire department. The homes are very tight against the
Right.
roadway,
But they still have ditches. and then
right? Yes,
They gotta be clean.
and some berm removal,
Right,
right? And I'm not sure if it's clay that's pushing up, you don't know that until you open it. If it's clay or rock, we have done a few dig outs in front of the fire department that were clay. And then we cold patched them. Because we weren't resurfacing it, we were trying to alleviate the bumps. And that has to be asphalted because of the heavy traffic that comes
Yeah,
out of the pits.
and I think, well, you can kind of get a good sense of the number because you can't go deeper than 2 feet. You can't go deeper than your ditches for your dig
Right.
outs, right? So, some geotech quarry material going to quarry
Exactly.
B. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So, yeah, I mean.
And it's not a, visually, it's not a large project, but asphalt costs a lot of money,
Right,
right?
and if,
However, it would start here
yeah,
by the train tracks and go over into Church Street.
and that would be, like, the total project would be that?
Total project.
if we were to
That's
look at-
estimated cost because honestly, a quote these days is worth 2 weeks of money.
Yeah, so you just updated those numbers.
Right,
From what they were.
yes,
Cause I had like probably looking at 35% more than
right.
what was 2020 numbers would be.
And what is the current number, sorry?
610,000,
610, but that would come from the gas tax money we have in reserves.
right. Which I do, like I explained in the analysis and the finances of the report. How much money we do have in gas tax and what's coming this year. We could do that project without affecting the tax base.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that project's been left so long. It should be high on the priority list.
When I think, if we're talking to the ratepayers, if we talk about, listen, we have made a decision to save $1 million off of development. We want to reinvest that. We're not taking it out of roads. We're actually trying to reinvest what would have been that investment in development and put it onto railway. So we're getting 2 projects for what was going to be the price of just development. We're getting more work done
Right,
for what was going to be one bill over in development, right?
Mhm.
right.
We would have to go in debt to do development road.
Right.
And we also need gravel on Pine Lake severely.
Yeah.
I
And
can't
again,
explain that enough.
that could be covered under gas, like our gas
Yes.
tax money or whatever funding is we have in reserves.
That's up to you as council how you're gonna fund that one.
Right. No, I think I would like to see Railway and Pine Lake both get done this year. Now, again, we're gonna clear berms from the roads before we gravel them.
I did speak, my budget currently in my operating budget, I have a $10,000 area to rent an excavator. I may have to up it a touch. However, it's doable within our operational budget, the work that needs to be done in Pine Lake. And we
Yeah.
did brush it all recently as well, so.
'Cause, yeah, I think if you rent one for a month and a half, I mean, you'd have to raise your number a little bit, but
Right,
I think you'd be all right. Cause we have our own trucks.
right. And these are just recommendations to bring forward to put place in the operating budget. And then once the finance people get a hold of it and figure out how to fund it all, that's when it will be returned to council, and that's when council ultimately can make their decision with the operating budget.
So we currently
capital,
know
sorry.
if we have enough in reserves to do all 3 projects.
2 we do. The 2, like Railway and Pine Lake.
Yeah.
We do.
I'd like
There
to see the
could be
numbers
more,
come
there,
forward as
I
part of the
can't
budget process.
say for sure what's in the reserves. I don't know that
Well,
number.
yeah, I mean, going
Right, I was
off your
just showing
estimated
you,
numbers here, yes.
right, I'm just showing you the numbers of sources that you can pull from that wouldn't affect the tax base.
So I would like to see at least the numbers presented as part of the budgeting process, and if we need to trim, then we'll have those tough
Right.
conversations at the council
Right.
level. Right?
Exactly. What we're doing now is just recommending to put something into the
Absolutely.
capital budget for consideration once you get all your figures together.
That's good.
Shall we bring a motion together?
Yeah.
We do have to, someone will have to write in the bottom the projects that you would like to bring forward.
Well,
And development or no? Well, we don't want that as part of the conversation.
Well, we could have it. Yeah, I guess we could put all three and
Yeah.
then cut from there.
Development Road,
Chip seal, do you want me to write on that, or is it okay to just say development road? And
Development
the-
Road is fine.
Okay.
It's chip seals the verbal here. I
And
can
then
make
railway.
sure that's what the number is going to capital.
Well, why don't you give us both scenarios
Okay,
and then we can go from there.
Railway, do you want
And-
slash mark? Or are you good with railway?
we know what that means.
Okay, I'm just, just not sure how
And
clear it
fine.
has been.
Well, yeah.
And then Pine Lake gravel.
Oops.
Thank you.
It's fun to hear the kids out playing on
Yeah.
the skating rink.
I think we'll have ice for sure, like March break.
Can I
That's
just
been a
ask
long
how
time.
far on,
This is just saying what projects we're considering
yeah,
and then
yeah, I understand there. And how far would we go on that one?
on that one, on Pine Lake, how far?
Hopefully
how
to
many-
the end.
How many kilometers?
Oh, it's 10 kilometers,
10
Of
kilometers.
just,
right?
yeah.
Of just, of the gravel.
Okay.
Just
Yes.
applying gravel.
No
okay.
pavement.
Yeah, no pavement.
Don't get them excited in Pine Lake right now.
Moved by Corbett, second by Paquette. Whereas the Public Works Committee has begun budgeting for capital planning for 2023 road work, and that the Public Works Committee recommends to council that the Public Works Manager engage a township's engineer to begin preparing a tender to execute on the approval of the capital budget for the following projects, and that the following projects be added to the capital budget for consideration: Development Road, Railway Street, and Pine Lake Road gravel. All in favor? Carried.
We have some unfinished business that won't be presented this evening. The traffic study can't be completed till summer unless I miraculously find signs, the really good ones that do traffic counts without having to put cords across the road. And I'm still waiting for quotes on the columbarium.
Okay. Referrals from complaint tracking,
None this evening.
manager's report.
I gotta head myself somewhere. Still, we're doing our winter maintenance activities still. Actually, today they showed the spring report and it doesn't look like it's coming too soon. We blew a rear axle in our 3-ton. I went to Toronto to watch Montreal and Toronto play hockey a couple weekends ago, so I stopped at a scrapyard on my way. In Bradford, however, it doesn't have enough tines on the axle to fit the gear ratio, so we have to bring that back with us to the OGRA. I thought I got lucky and got one for $250, but no, I have to get one made. I can't get one at Dana Rear Ends. I can't get one where we had the rear end rebuilt. I can't. A.G. Brown, no scrapyard, no, nowhere. So one is being built. I'm just trying to give you a little heads up when you see the expenditure come across, because at the end of the day, I can't sell the thing if it doesn't move.
What's the expenditure?
$1,265.
What's the net value of the piece of equipment? If it
Um,
was fixed?
with the sander unit and everything, I'm hoping to get at least. I don't want to put it out there because it'll have to go to an auction.
Well, I mean, it's like one of the bigger sander units. A 2
Yes,
yard, is it a 2 yard?
Yes,
I mean, they're $14,000 a roll.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
So, yeah,
right,
you're gonna recoup your $1,200.
yes.
Fair enough. thank you.
The hockey nets arrived and I shown you the pictures, quite excited about it. And actually, when the grader pulled in, Gardwin pulled in with the hockey nets. I was kind of doing a little jump and Gardwin's like, hockey nets make you that happy?
Right.
No, it's that big shiny grader.
Yeah.
But the hockey nets are very well deserved and needed. Preparing the budget, I've almost completed my budget today, actually. Attending the municipal roads, bridges, culverts in March. The new grader has arrived and we brought it down for your visual yesterday.
Sorry, are you going to that?
Yes, it's in the morning on March 29th.
Yeah.
We steamed our first culvert the other day. That usually tells you spring is coming. However, last year we started steaming in
I
January.
think, yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's gonna be an easy winter, easy spring.
And it was crazy. Like we steamed every single day. It costs so much money. And this year, a 100-pound tank of propane is $150. So let's hope we don't steam a lot. This week coming, we have it comes with the grader. A trainer comes to the shop for the day and goes through with everyone, all the controls, all the buttons, all the maintenance activities. So he'll be coming next week. Last year, we applied for a grant with FCM for asset management planning, and it's for software. We placed it in our capital budget. However, the grant didn't come through by the end of last year. I just received notice last week. They're reviewing it, and I'm tweaking it currently to match the requirements of the grant that they're looking for to give us. So I will be putting that DOT software back into the capital budget. It was already approved by motion. You have to give a motion to have the grant go through SEM. So there's still hope for us to receive the grant. Working on quotes for garbage pickup. At this time, I would like to say, though, we do have a contractor in the village or in Bonfield that if people do wish to hire him, there is a service available for people to have garbage pickup here in the township,
So why are we pricing a garbage pickup?
just to put it out there.
It was actually requested.
Yes.
I requested it and
Yes.
they heard it quite a bit in the
We
in
do
the
often hear
election,
that as well.
which is fair enough. I think just for full transparency, let's get a quote.
Yeah.
And then people will understand why we will or will not have garbage pickup, right?
Right.
So,
The wait time for the replacement for the 3-ton, I did reach out to several dealerships. Because currently there is still such uncertainty with the market, the best I could get was 4 months or 12 months. So I just want to pre-warn you, don't be surprised next council meeting that I come forward asking permission to start the tendering process before the capital budget is passed. I'm just putting it out there because if I don't move, we will have nothing for winter. Possibly.
And
I'm gonna say possibly.
we're going from a 3-ton to what?
A 1-ton,
And they're still saying that
4 to 12 months. Anyways, that's just a little heads up. Just letting the public know through our meeting today, half load started today. Which kind of made me go, wow, it really is here. Just because we're still pulling logs out of the plantation. The public can approach the Public Works Department and purchase an overload weight permit. Within the permit, we designate where they're allowed to drive and at what time of day. So if someone wants to go through the municipality fully loaded, we try not to prohibit anybody trying to build etc. We try to work with the driver. We'll say you must go follow this path to get to where you're going. And you must do it between the hours of 6 in the morning and 9 in the morning because it's still frozen. So there is still ways to get your loads through the township, just not to scare everybody off of the restrictions. And if you're caught by the MTO driving within the municipality without that permit, you will be fined. That's the end of that.
End of your report?
Yes, sir.
Last question.
Yes.
Sorry, you have questions? Just back to the grader. So great to hear somebody's coming to talk to staff and give them the once over. And then you also talked about they also review maintenance schedule and maintenance. So I will have a fairly I'm feeling slightly protective over this piece of equipment.
Oh,
that we
yeah?
have invested a significant amount of money in. So I want to make sure that obviously we have a really aggressive maintenance schedule, that there's the auto greasers on it, that
Yes, sir.
there's right. So I just want to make sure that
There's a
we,
filter plan that came with the
Yeah.
grader as well. We get all free service filters. Well, free as free can be.
we pay
Actually, for
upfront.
the
Yeah.
extent of our warranty, so 7 years or 7,500 hours, we get all the filters as well. There's CAT has random oil checks on the machine because they don't want their warranty not to be
Perfect.
right.
Nor do we
Actually,
want-
through the tender,
I would also like to have random oil checks on the machine. That's great news.
like they test the oil.
To see.
No, I would
Yeah,
like that's
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
like that's one thing. I want pretty aggressive maintenance on that. So.
So when I did the tendering, because I do the asset management planning for the township, I put asset management planning maintenance costs in the tender. So they must provide those. So we already have the maintenance structure and the cost of the maintenance for the machine for the life of the machine within the township.
Perfect.
It makes my job easier.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I didn't see in here any quotes or anything for the solar lights at the dump, at the landfill. I don't know if you've had enough time to look at that. I know we discussed it as a maybe a broad possibility at the last meeting,
Right.
so that we can possibly in the future do Wednesday evenings year round. I spoke unofficially to an electrician that we had, and he's done them before for like backyards and stuff, and they
Right.
project pretty good. So I don't know if that's something that you're still getting quotes for. and
Right.
looking into, just to keep it on the docket.
For sure. We can put that under our, we'll make sure that comes back onto our agenda as a conversation. On a side note, I did have a discussion. I'm not familiar with suppliers for LED lighting of that magnitude. But fortunately, with the Good Roads Conference coming, there is a supplier show. And often you can make those connections through their suppliers shows. And then you start getting into who can I contact? Where can I send requests for quotations or RFPs? So I would ask to have that amount of time to be able to get in contact with some suppliers, because honestly, I've never had to deal with it. I have gotten quotes for solar pedestrian signage, etc. I could probably reach out to her to see if she may have connection to something to that effect. But at this time, I really don't know where to start. So I would need a bit of time to get that together.
Perfect.
And I could also
Just
bring
wanna-
like hydro. I could bring that as an opposed quote as well.
I think there's just even starting with some electrical companies in town, they would be able to point you in the right direction for solar LED lights or.
Right? I've never seen commercial street lights LED.
It's probably not
If
gonna
it
be
ha-
street light.
Right. I'm just saying, but if we have to go to that magnitude, I've never seen or heard of. However, I've seen other measures.
Yeah, I think what would save us, and I'm not a solar expert by any means, is the shorter length of time we'd need it on it, unlike a street light, which has to stay on for, half of a 24-hour period. This would be
3 hours.
3-4 hours is what the battery bank would have to support. So I like that idea. I also like the fact that if you can explore the cost of bringing in hydro, great. And the other option that my layman brain goes to is you often see the construction sites with the big, and with the cost of fuel, I would imagine
Yeah,
it's
that's a
cost
Jenny.
prohibitive, but like something like that as well, just so we could see kind of multiple options.
if you're okay with it, I can reach out to people and send it off to you. Like I know Toronto Zoo put in a bunch
Okay,
to light up like big walkways and parking lots and stuff. Because they're very solar generated currently, trying to get their carbon footprint down. And they've worked fairly well. So
perfect. Just tell them to send me an email.
Okay.
I'll do the legwork.
perfect.
You took that down, right? I'm hitting this my memory bank.
Recreation Committee,
In conversation with the Parks and Recreation Committee Chair, he was aware that we were replacing the current hockey nets that we have. And in speaking with the local school, École Lorrain, he said the principal was interested in them. They're just having to reach out to the Franco-Nord School Board to get a risk assessment, which would allow them to have them. Because remember back in the day when we were kids, we had the tire ladder, you could climb like 30 feet up in the air. Well, they're not allowed to do that kind of stuff anymore.
Merry-go-round.
So I'm just bringing forth a recommendation based that once they get that approval, we would have a smooth transition to be able to offer them our older hockey nets. And we have a motion for that.
And as that's going through, like the netting itself is in really rough shape. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, like it needs paint, like the ones we have now have like the padding on them so no one can back their head off.
And how much, did we look into the cost of new netting? Like for the mesh itself on those nets, do we know how much that is?
No,
Okay, I'm just wondering if there's a way of community.
Of making it
organizations to get
better?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be on the municipal
Right.
dollar. I'm just wondering if there's
Right.
something we could do as
For the school or for the township?
for the school.
For the school, if all goes through Red Dog, we'll pay for the mesh. We've
Okay,
already
perfect.
talked about it with
That was
the school.
easy.
okay,
The school treats our programs very nicely, so
Excellent.
we'll buy some mesh from them.
Yeah, good. It's better than cornhole paint. Or that was gonna be my recommendation.
Same thing.
Yeah.
moved by Featherstone, second by Paquette. Whereas the Parks and Recreation Department purchased new hockey nets for the rink, and that École Lorraine has interest in acquiring the old hockey nets, and that the Public Works Committee recommends to council that the nets be donated to École Lorraine. All in favor?
We'll teach you
Excuse my
French
French. Carried.
my children went there. It was great.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Waste and recycling.
At our last Public Works Committee meeting, we spoke about different ways we may be able to reduce the amount of recycling entering our landfill. Clear bags was a measure that was brought up. I did provide you with like a little, I thought was cheeky idea for a little flyer to go out to start educating our public. We could start simply by just handing them out at the landfill. We could buy a case of 500 clear bags for $42. So we could also hand out a clear bag to go along with our little promotion for our education. And like I said before, if this goes through, we could also include a mail out with the mail out for the speed limit change so that we are actually notifying all of our residents. You'll notice on the flyer that I put May the 3rd for it to change over. In speaking with the CAO, he's concerned that we may not get our seasonal residents captured in time, but perhaps if we have the mail out coincide with our speed limit mail out, we would have that availability. So the deadline could still be kind of floating in the air here. It took me several attempts to try to find the landfill bylaw that currently holds the rules, because the bylaw was established in 1997. And since then, it has been amended, repealed, repealed, and amended several times, and it's actually out of date. So we would have to work on that bylaw as well to implement that. One of our rules of the landfill is no recycling material will enter the landfill. So that would also have to be reworked and brought to council before we can go forward, because even some of the legislation that's described in the bylaw is past dated due to the new Circular Economy Act and the Resource Productivity Resources Act and et cetera. So there's a lot of legislative changes that would also have to incur in the bylaw. So that's just a quick overview of the bylaw changes that would have to happen. Working through the landfill budget. Currently, last year I budgeted $25,000 for recycling for all the lifts of all the bins. So every time that bin gets full, we have control of when we call them to come and empty it. So we push it, try to get our maximum weight volume out of it. However, there was an increase in recycling. Thank you, residents. Because last year we spent $32,693 in recycling. I have no data at all to go on to know what the change might be if no recycling enters the landfill. I can't honestly tell you if half the population recycles, 3/4 of the population recycles. So for budgeting purposes, I increased the budget to $50,000 to start. The money that we receive back from Waste Diversion Ontario when we do our reporting, in my budget this year, it says I received $16,000 back, which was an increase of $6,000 from the year before. So every time our recycling increases, the amount of money we receive from the Ontario government also increases. And in 2025, if we transition with the Circular Materials of Ontario and we become a service provider to them, they could recoup all the costs. So what we see now would be an increase on the tax base. However, the revenues would balance it out for next year, not this year, because what we get received from the Ontario government in funding is reflective of the costs from 2022.
Right.
So that's my best judgment call. If we go to the ClearBag system, that I will be increasing my budget $25,000 to reflect the lift costs of removing the recycling. And like I said, the following year, the government will be giving us back money to reflect those costs, but it will not be reflective in the 2023 budget. The 2024 budget, it will be reflected in. And then we will have data. I'm also speaking with Santana today. July 1st will be our first full year with our new landfill passes. So we'll be able to pull a report for a baseline. So we'll know exactly how much garbage bags have been going into the landfill. And we'll be able to use that as a baseline and you compare it the following year to see how much less garbage has gone into the landfill per bag.
Can we not on that system, can we not ask the people how many bags of garbage, how many bags recycling and enter that on that card?
I can't, well, I would have to wrap my head around it maybe. You may be able to carry 2 cards. I don't think I would be able to do it on the same card.
Because it would be interesting to know how much people are bringing, but
Is it worth reaching out to Brooks Falls or somebody that has done something similar? I'm sure they have their own stats and even as a quick email.
The township of Strong is how I started with the landfill passes that we currently have. And they developed that landfill pass system because they have a landfill that 3 townships use and they weren't sure how to bill back to their neighbors. So they started that system. I know Chisholm, I believe, does clear bags. However, I don't know if they have data to support the change. I would have to reach out for that. But within our own municipality, like I don't have the information to make a great educated guess. I'm just saying.
what do we get back on the scrap steel? Like, how does that work? Do they just charge us for the pickup and we get the
Yes.
scrap money?
Yes.
And what does that generate?
I should have brought my budget. I think I was around 13,000, 16,000.
So that kind of offsets some.
Right, so I had that for scrap metal. We also sell, you don't get a lot of money for it. The electronics bin is sold. We used to get money back for the tires, but we don't anymore. Now they come and pick them up for free instead of, it's like a stewardship. And that would be the only recycling revenue that we currently bring in. So the WDO, the recycling from tin or mixed metal, and the recycling from the electronics bin.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. Like, since I moved here, this is one of my bigger frustrations as, just as a citizen. So I think this is moving in the right direction. I think this is gonna be good. Obviously, we'll get some pushback, but, I mean,
You know what,
it's gotta happen, right?
to close a landfill, we're looking at over $1 million. So we better treat that thing like I know it's a landfill and everybody thinks it's just a landfill, but that is one of our most expensive assets in
Oh.
the township.
And just doing the right thing, right?
Right.
I mean, environmentally, like, let's
We
just
need
be progressive.
progressive and we need to prolong the life of that thing. I mean, it'll be very hard in the future to get another landfill.
Can
Go ahead.
So I agree with both of what you just said. So a couple of just kind of logistics as I walk through. So those clear bags make sense to me. So I think of my garbage disposal or how I deal with it. So we have like a kitchen thing that is a white bag in it that I tie in a knot and I put it into my 55-gallon drum, which has my larger garbage bag in it. So that's clear, but it has white bags in it. How does that work? Because that's
Other municipalities that I looked at, they have a system where it's all in a clear bag, open,
right.
so it's visible.
So even they,
Except for washroom garbage, you're allowed a 20-liter bag inside your clear bag.
right. So we would transition to clear bags, like the smaller kitchen catcher bags.
Yes.
Okay. And then from I know we had talked before about trying to just make it as easy of a transition as possible for residents. I like the idea of here's a clear bag. Here's where, I would be totally in favor of like selling them for cost, quite frankly, if that's how we can help transition. Like here's a box of them and this is how much they cost. They want to pick them out of the landfill, as well as blue boxes. So I know like the city of North Bay has blue boxes and you can buy them at Canadian Tire, but I don't know if that's actually a great branding opportunity for us to be able to sell blue boxes for cost. Like I'm not looking to make money, but let's put our logo on there and let's actually just promote it and make it easy for residents.
We did have blue boxes and we did try to implement when I was the mayor. When we tried to implement the clear bags, people were not in favor of it, but people weren't in favor of a change. We have a different group of people, new people,
Right.
and I think this is an excellent idea.
So do I.
And we did have blue boxes and they had so many back there, they finally had to sell them. They sold them out for $5 or something a box. But that might be a good idea again for your pop cans, for your
For Camp
paper or
Carroll.
whatever.
Don't purchase so many at once.
Yeah.
If we sell out, we buy more.
I know that in the past, there used to be a group called, and that's very recent, Continuous Improvement Fund. That's who currently has been working with us through our journey to this transition but now that group is going to be dissolving and we may get a check actually out of it, not very much. The city of Toronto is going to suck up the leftovers. Because at one point the municipalities all gave money and then this group started, but that group I think is still running some programs that I could look at for the blue boxes. I know last year Antoine had called me and he wasn't really sure how we could get some. But once again, when we're at the conference, those are great opportunities to say you could meet, there could be someone in there that's, hey, you know where I could get some blue boxes for cheap? Uline charges massive amounts in shipping.
Yeah,
The
there's
other-
got to be a supplier.
Yeah, but the other option we could look at is approaching other municipalities where we,
A group buy
a group buy.
or canoe. Actually, I just said that.
I like the idea of a group buy, and then quite frankly, we take our allotment of it, and if we wanted to use a local company to put logos on it, because I actually really like the fact, like, my blue boxes that I have still say City of North Bay. So I would much prefer having a blue box that says, Municipality of Bonfield, Township
I
of
may have
Bonfield.
7 Hamilton ones.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, like, it's a great, like, it just sticks around, and it's.
Especially while we're trying to brand our new brand as well.
Right.
And the last thing that I had for the landfill was just signage for the bins.
Right,
I
so
know
it's
it's been a
basically
contract.
would be incorporated into our signage.
Is there anything that we can do like immediately, like even just,
It'll
like,
take me a couple weeks.
even just like a cardboard sign, like something quick, right? Like just to sort out most of the cardboard and
Yeah.
paper, I guess, has been an issue for a couple of weeks.
The only
People don't
challenge-
Understand which one is which.
Is, I guess you could put something on the door of the.
Well, we always had, we made like paper signs and then laminated them, and then we had
Yeah.
magnets on them.
Try
However,
to Go a little bigger.
they end up going with the bin,
Yeah.
never returning.
Just something,
We could do something in the
Part-time for
meantime,
now.
like the signs we have done in the past.
This is until we can get the proper signs.
Yes,
So then I have one other thing I'd like to. Can we not move the electronics bin to the end and the paper one?
that's where it was. I don't know how Miller placed them backwards.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just, it doesn't have a
Yes.
nice flow.
Right.
It just,
That's not how it used to be.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know how they got
anyways.
placed like that.
just a
Um,
little something.
Also in this report, I did mention about adding an extra body. However, the body that I plan on putting there is already an employee with the township. And they are considered a casual employee, so moving them into a different schedule doesn't affect the budget. To have that person standing at the face to ensure no recycling is entering the landfill.
And providing training about how all
Yes.
that will operate
Right.
and
And we'll have all of our
and-
flyers readily
and
available.
appropriate interaction with the ratepayers
Right.
who ultimately are paying for this
Exactly.
landfill. So we
Yes.
want it to be supportive and we want it to be
Right.
customer focused, but yet like making sure that things are going
Right.
right. Right.
And I did reach out, honestly, I just got an email today from a mattress company. Recycle,
Out of Quebec?
yes.
Yes, that's what I,
Anyways, I just reached out to them just to get some quotes. I think we're moving in the right direction. I don't know how big a steps we want to take at this time. I'll do my best to get the information to you, but I think that the clear bags is a great first step to maintaining the recyclables in the landfill.
yeah, I mean, it's just more diversion numbers, right? If we get
Right.
rid of the mattresses, it's more diversion numbers.
Right. And but the recycling numbers on cardboard,
Mhm.
all blue box material, the more we recycle now, the better that looks for us when we go into the transition as
Right.
well.
Yep.
We got a motion. Go in right now. Like.
Yeah.
Okay.
you stole my pen.
Good idea to use the mayor of stealing. Good. Perfect.
Moved by Featherstone, second by Corbett, whereas the Public Works Committee has been working on proactively approaches on the waste diversion from entering the landfill, and that the Public Works Committee recommends to council to move to clear bag systems and to go not permit recyclable materials from entering the landfill, and that an education program commence to alert the residents of Bonfield regarding upcoming changes. And therefore, the Public Works Manager be directed to repeal bylaw 97-03, being a bylaw for establishing maintaining the system for the disposal of solid waste and recyclable materials in the defined areas of the township of Bonfield. All in favor? Carried.
And sorry, I'm super in favor. I have one last question, if that's
Go ahead.
okay. So May 3rd is we're talking about the implementation date, if it passes through council and it goes through all that. will there be, and we can have this conversation at the council level, some sort of a grace period where obviously we're gonna do our best for education, we're gonna do our best, and then somebody's gonna show up with a black garbage
Right.
bag, and is it hard that day that it's like, sorry, your black garbage bag isn't coming in, or, yeah,
Well,
like,
what, with our new landfill passes, it took time to transition
right,
there. And then I would speak to the staff and say, we're gonna give leniency. This weekend, okay, next weekend, hard reminder, next weekend's the last weekend. And then we had like a 2-week period where, hey, in 2 weeks, hey, in 2 weeks,
right.
right? So there is,
And also,
and we're gonna start early, like, we're gonna start handing this flyer out. We could start handing this flyer out, honestly. Like the day after council accepts that we're going forward with the clear bags. And we could just start handing this flyer out
Every weekend.
every weekend.
Yeah, you gotta give everybody time to get rid
Yes.
of their garbage bags because
Yes,
they're so expensive.
yes, they are. But like, and also the CAO did mention that perhaps we should try to get till June. So we do have that chance to have a few conversations with our out of towners. Or we could coincide at our new landfill passes renew on July 1st. We could coincide
that's a
our
good
new
idea, too.
recycling program
But
to start
start
July
warning
1st.
ahead of time.
Right, we
Yeah.
could start, like I said, after council passes the motion, handing the flyer out every week. And I do have administrative budget where I can make sure that continually happens.
Yeah, I believe I mentioned this before. We rented a cottage in Brooks Falls. That's why I knew they did the clear bags. When we rented it, cottage owners didn't give us any background or anything. Here's the landfill address. Here's when it's open. You take these passes, that's it. So we had like a recycling bag and a garbage bag, a black garbage bag, and we got there and they made us rip it open and like,
Dump it, yeah.
dump it and separate,
Right.
different things, right? Just
and after that's been implemented long enough, yes, that's what's gonna happen if people continue, but it's just that grace period
Yeah.
in between.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's a way to use the pass to signify like, okay, like we've given this person grace once and we've given this person grace twice. Like, I don't know if it's a little mark on the card or a punch code in the card. Like, I don't know if there's something we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is a possibility, honestly, of having 2 cards.
Yeah,
I
that
don't know
could
if
be,
you want to go that way,
I
but
don't know. I
or
mean,
we
we
go
can have
back to
that
the-
conversation.
the punch cards cost a lot of money, honestly.
Okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it did. It cost more money than the cards we currently use
Yeah.
because we had to laminate them, put the address labeling on
Yeah,
them,
I
cut
meant the
them
punch
all.
card as in like, if we give somebody grace, like, let's say to start May 3rd, June or whatever, and then we figure out a grace period, or it's like, okay, this person brought a black garbage bag in, fair enough, this time, we can mark that on a card, say, yeah, you
Yes.
got the grace, you got this grace the second time. Come the third time, well, grace is over, right? I
Right.
mean, it's kind of one of those, it's,
I know in the past, I've had my fair share of landfill turns. Working down there, we used to have like a little clicker to count how many. So
Mhm.
whoever's working in the recycling off, but honestly, when you're in recycling, you kind of get lost because you'll help the odd person and then you don't see who else is behind you going in. So it's not a real accurate count on who's recycling, but perhaps the front gate person
I was gonna say,
could
cannot,
say, are you recycling today? Are you recycling today?
how many bags of garbage and how many recycling?
The garbage I
bags?
know I can get off of a
No, I-
report.
Well, okay,
yeah.
then how many recycling
Yeah,
bags do you have today?
Yeah,
And then mark it down so we
Yeah.
can kind of,
I'll figure out some system.
and I just think when I go, I bring my 2 blue boxes and I stand there for a while, go, oh, like, we
Right.
try to do our best at cardboard and then everything else, but cardboard's easy, and then I'm like walking back and forth and doing my
Yeah.
recycling, right?
I'm the
So,
same, I'm the same.
yeah.
You
So
gotta
I
prepare
would do
better at
like
home.
2 bags, I
Corbin.
guess, like every time, if that's what it
Or
was.
you
but-
can call it 2 boxes, that'd be
yeah.
a bag, 2 boxes, 2 recycling boxes, a bag, whatever.
So we'll,
People have to get used to the lineups and I think that the attendants should be given a bit more training to be able to deal with the people,
yes,
to explain to them, well, this is what we're trying to do to save our landfill site.
mhm. We'll have a meeting, of course, with our people that are working there. And I think somehow in the bylaw, there should be some stricter penalties for dumping on the roadside edge
Oh, yes,
Oh, absolutely.
absolutely.
to compensate the other. And you always find out whose garbage it is, because I've been there.
There's always some shred evidence.
Oh, yeah. So I did that motion. I was that, go ahead.
Great.
Our last one.
Yeah,
There was conversation about what we do with the LCBO empties when we have them at the landfill. Years ago, one attendant would bring them home and cash them in and use the money for whatever he felt necessary. We put a stop to that, and then we collected the money, put it into a kind of a fund that we've used as a slush fund over the years. That would pay for a Christmas dinner, barbecue after the summer students are leaving, items such as that. It was brought up that perhaps that revenue should go to Parks and Recreation, and that's where we're at today.
How,
go ahead.
what's the annual revenue roughly?
During COVID, I think that was our biggest one, when you couldn't take back your empties or whatever. It was
Right.
$1,400 for the year.
Annually?
But it could be more with this new program in place.
Well, the thing, if you put signage to it, people are gonna be more willing to donate their empties.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm okay if we're funneling that back into the community for other community events. I also don't mind a piece of that going in as an appreciation for the
So
work
the-
the staff do.
Right.
I mean, if that's an easy way, so perhaps it doesn't have to be all of one or all of the other. Perhaps there's somewhere that we can,
Happy medium.
yeah.
I don't mind it going to the staff for like appreciation dinners and stuff. I think the question was just raised, what is the process, right?
Right.
Like, where does this go? But I think once we do clear bags, I think we'll find, that we're gonna be getting a lot more too, because I've seen people with giant bags of black garbage and you hear all the cans and bottles clinking around when they throw it off the truck.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's one municipality, it was $4,000
Right.
for the year.
More drinkers there.
With the new transition in
Don't judge, that could
2025
be
as
us.
well,
Yeah.
no LCBO bottles are allowed to be in recycling
That's great.
in 2025.
Perfect.
You can hear on the radio that North Bay is going through already advertising the process because the LCBO and the beer store already have a recycling program. So they refuse to be a part of the stewardship program through Ontario government. So those bottles will no longer be counted as blue box material. So that would be counted as contamination actually, and they cannot be in your recycling systems. That's why, like I said, on the radio, you can already hear North Bay trying to work through the process. Hey, take your empties back to the LCBO, or because in 2 years, that's contamination in your recycling.
So at that point, we would have to do the like.
We cannot let it go into recycling.
We would have to have a separate area for it
Yes.
and bring it back
Right.
ourselves or.
Right, exactly.
Hire a
The
third
same
party to do it.
process as we do right now. That's what is going to happen.
So let's make sure we're putting a sign, for LCBO bottles, because I think that would be helpful. That there's a really strong designation. Because right now, I think it's just a little side box in front of the
Yeah.
glass thing, right?
Yeah.
So we had a better place to do that. It's more designated with a sign. And I really like the idea. I think Councilor McGinnis said it, was, if we actually put a sign that said proceeds from LCBO bottles help support local events or whatever, and
Recreational.
just
or-
as a citizen, I'd be like, well, yeah, that's awesome. Makes me feel good when I'm going and putting in an empty there. or
Cause I
whatever,
hate
right? So,
taking mine back anyways.
Well,
I'd rather just dump
I've
it.
never taken it back ever.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna say nothing.
And I don't
wine,
think
yeah.
there's anything for the staff. There's nothing,
Municipally, I believe that you're unable to bonus staff through your budget. I'm not 100%, but I don't think a municipal employee is allowed to be bonused.
Well,
There's like
correct.
criteria for like performance
Yeah.
stuff, etc. Except we're in a collective agreement with our staff. There is none of that. So like I said, that's what we would do with the funds.
Yeah, there can't be a taxable benefit.
We would have
There-
ham dinner or.
Right. No.
We'd give a student a $25 gas card at the end of this summer. Actually, Santana started with us as a student. She moved to Sudbury It was her first time moving out of her parents' house, so she got like a $25 gift card to go to the Home Depot and
I was gonna say, did that get you a Sudbury?
no, but she bought curtains.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't think that there can be a taxable benefit, which would be an interesting question to ask her if that would actually qualify as a taxable benefit. But doing something like a barbecue and stuff is never considered a taxable benefit, like a thank you dinner or a
Right.
Christmas dinner. So that I think is fine, and that we could actually budget for if we needed to in a municipal budget. That is not
Like,
considered a
yeah,
taxable
like
benefit, right? So
Two dinners, a lot, summer, whatever, and a and
summer
Christmas.
barbecue and a Christmas dinner, I mean, that's just typical employment stuff, so. But
So
that's a council decision to put in the budget at some point, so,
yes, it would be.
yeah.
So I have a motion ready to put it to Parks and Recreation. Or would you like to defer it? Are you ready yet? It could be brought into the operational budget, it's shown as revenue.
Man, that gets eaten up.
Yeah, I think I think we need to do more for the kids.
It could go to the recreation, and recreation department could support the staff by paying for the dinners, for, Christmas dinner and for summer dinner. So that all the money gets funneled into rec, and then recreation could get back to staff. Staff are gonna have their hands full at the landfill, right?
Right.
We're gonna be putting more on them. But, we don't have to allocate, 50-50, 60-40, whatever. We can just put it all towards rec. And then when they're ready to have their barbecue, they just submit it, and we.
I would expect Council Featherstone to be out there barbecuing himself. if
It's usually
that's,
me.
But yeah.
I do all the cooking.
Put a request.
Can't make a fire.
As long as it's not, an open flame fire.
Don't set your shoe on fire.
So, we don't have to decide that it needs to go to two different organizations. It can all go to rec,
And then.
and
That
we'll-
makes
rec will
sense.
still
Yeah, I'm
support
fine with
those
that.
two dinners.
Could
So-
we not just monitor it for a while to see how much comes in?
If it was all it could be monitored through the system. We bring it down through here and it just goes directly to Parks and Recreation. As he says, it goes into a budget and then it's shown going out. So something's shown going in and something's shown going out.
With the understanding that we're not
Right.
taking it
However, we
away
should
from,
probably prepare a policy or a procedure for such.
well, there should be something for sure. I just don't know how to.
Miscellaneous. I know in my training budget, for instance, because we have a facility, we use the fire department quite often. So we invite, we'll have a joint training session with Nipissing, East Ferris, etc. And in that training budget, that's where I take out coffee and donuts or coffee and muffins. Those things come out of that budget. So we could budget for it
Mhm.
potentially in a miscellaneous account. If council feels that
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
okay to still have those types of functions.
I think it's important.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Okay,
it doesn't shouldn't have to get complicated.
no, I think we're overcomplicating
I
it.
think so too.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
I think, like
LCBO money will come.
Steve said, go to rec, and then rec supports that.
Right,
It doesn't have to get really complicated.
right. So we have a motion for that.
Moved by Featherstone, second by Paquette, that the Public Works Committee recommends to council that the LCBO bottles returns from the landfills to be given to Parks and Recreation Department for further use as revenue. All in favor? Carried.
You remember to look after them.
You remember to look after them, she said.
Remember to look after them.
Be a really good Christmas.
Nope.
this year.
You get to go to the.
That's it?
Yeah, adjournment, I guess it was.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, cemetery, sorry. Is there anything for cemetery?
Not to this evening.
Addendums?
Last year, actually, we increased our budget down there for running the show to $2,000. I've spoken with the families that are kind of like the caretakers of the cemetery, the residential caretakers, not officially. We did have a little bit of plans, like a flagpole and to change a gate and to repaint some things, but they'll all fall within our current operational budget. With the columbarium is the big ticket item that we're working on.
Any addendums?
No addendum.
Adjournment.
I'm sure he's good with it. Wrote me back.
Moved by Corbett, second by Featherstone. This meeting be adjourned at
8:20.
8:20. All in favor? Carried. You're getting me fired.
Say good night.
Good night, everyone.